Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Games Industry Executive Summary. This is Casey, and we have an interesting podcast today. But before we dive in and introduce my awesome friends and co hosts, a reminder the PC and Console 2025 report by Newzoo is out. Newzoo.com, go read the report. Of course, if you want to hear this awesome panel of people break it down, then you can watch the episode from last Tuesday, and that's April 8th. But gentlemen, welcome on board. Of course, as usual, we have the fabulous Manu Rosier and the always dashing Dave Thier.
Always, all the time,
Hello.
from place to place. Good morning.
Manu,
Yes.
we were talking yesterday. It's a dry week in some regards, but there's of course some follow up. And here's Dave. This is Dave. You're gonna shine today.
Okay, great. I
Okay.
do. I thought I shone every day.
Of course.
I dash and I shine.
Yes. Today, however, you have the opportunity because of your communication skills and background and PR and all that stuff. A name I did not think we would be talking about for 10 years, maybe 11. Xbox.
I thought it would be this. Yeah.
So I don't even remember the name of the console. That's how bad it was for that company.
Wait.
And we're talking about Don Matrix.
Yeah.
Matrix. This is 11 years ago. Xbox. What was it called again?
Xbox One.
That's why we don't remember it, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go. Boom. Fast forward to today, or last week rather. Now, we are hyped, or we think the Nintendo product is a good product. And there are some aspects that I actually agree with, like increasing prices on games. You already know that. But it seems like things are not really going as well as they should. What are your thoughts, Dave?
Well, I think that for one thing, it's launching into a really different media environment than basically any console ever before. And it's just a much more negative environment that's informed by all kinds of things, but just sort of the way these algorithms work and the way that people try and make money on YouTube. It's also informed by the ascension of sort of Trump and nationalism and this kind of revised nastiness on the internet. And so it's a convenient narrative, right? It's one that YouTubers and people can run with really easily, which is that Nintendo's cocky and they're making mistakes, which they are. They're definitely making mistakes. But it's very easy to amplify right now, and so people are. It works. It's a good target, and the Xbox One treatment would seem like basically the right one. Now, however, there's some important differences, I think. Yeah, there's the screaming guy. We know about the screaming guy. And I think a really important difference is that media is, for one thing, media is a lot more fragmented than it used to be. So the people this is reaching are different than they used to be. And also the Switch audience is different from the core Xbox audience. So they are going to be a little less susceptible to this kind of thing. But it's dicey. For me, the diciest thing is a button, a physical button that requires a subscription that it's approximately where the screenshot button is on the current Switch, which I hit accidentally all the time. So they're going to need to not bring up a paywall every time you hit that button. And yeah, it's a thing that's easier. It's easy to poke holes in. I think we should also remember that the Switch got similar treatment, right? It got piled on, most definitely. It's just that it was able to wipe our memories of that pretty quickly after it succeeded. I think I wrote some critical things before it came out, and then I do remember writing an article for Forbes called "I'm sorry, I was wrong about the Nintendo Switch."
Awesome, Manu. To go back to you, does this have what are we expecting when it comes to hardware sales, impact on actually consumer adoption? I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, at this point, the Switch has 150 million users, roughly, or sold units. Um, During the DS era, didn't they release like other DSs or versions of the DS where you couldn't play the older one, or sorry, new games couldn't be played on the older version, something like that? Is that correct? Oh, you're muted, by the way.
You remain muted.
Let me see if I can unmute him. I can unmute you.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yep.
No, I'm not an expert on older Nintendo portable consoles, so I don't know what was the compatibility back then. The only thing I wanted to point out again is all these discussions about pricing for the Switch are the best reason for GTA 6 not to launch at $100.
Yeah.
I will disagree. Of course, you already
Yeah,
know
you
that.
will. You will.
I think. Sorry, I'll let you continue, and then I'll put some
No,
thoughts.
no, that's all I have to say.
Oh, okay. I think it's about time. I think for Nintendo specifically, what has happened is the compounding effect. And I was mentioning to you this in private. Now, I live in Sweden. Dave will have to tell us what things are in the Netherlands, and of course, you as well, Manu, in Switzerland. But I was looking at the pricing here in our local, like one of the biggest electronics shops. The base model of the Switch 2 was at $677 or something like that. I was like, that makes no sense at all. We obviously, historically speaking, have always paid more than our American brethren, but $200 difference on the base model. I'm not even going to talk about buying a game, and then additionally, if you want to buy an extra controller or something like that. And now I'm roughly at $1,000 to play a single new game on this system that is not going to change my life in any shape or form. And if you remember, and I always talk about this because I'm really passionate about the lifetime value of a customer. And by the way, there's one more thing which is related to do exclusives matter, but the lifetime value of the customer. And we talk about this, or I usually talk about this, which is you had a kid who was 10 years old when the Switch One released. Now they're maybe in their early
Mhm.
20s. Um, are they gonna convert? Do they even have the money? They probably don't, because when they were 10, their parents bought them the Switch One, and now even me, I'm making. And I sold my Switch like 2-3 months ago to buy the Switch Two, but I'm like, I'm not gonna pay $1,000. Makes no sense at all.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm hearing that from other people, from other like industry people. They're like, yeah.
It's a bit of too many layers of expensive, expensive stuff. I think, if I read correctly, you have this like chat button that only works if you have a subscription to Nintendo Online.
Yep.
Also, so I think it's a bit weird because I believe there are games, probably like Fortnite, that you can play multiplayer on PlayStation without the PlayStation Plus subscription. So here it feels again it will and I don't know what's the situation right now for Fortnite on Switch, if you require or not the Nintendo Online subscription. But yeah, again, it's that one thing independently would probably be fine, but here it feels like it's a collection of price increase, like hidden costs that are adding up, and that make it feel like kind of hard to swallow if you're really moving to the next one, buying the new game, accessories, the I don't even know if the controller will be compatible. I mean, you cannot put them physically on the new Switch because it's not the same way to attach them. But I don't know if you can use them as remote. So yeah, there is a lot of stuff there.
Memory cards too. That's another hidden cost. You're not going to be taking your memory cards from the old Switch to
Mhm.
the new one. They're using a different kind. It's more expensive.
And then there is this whole misunderstanding or potentially unclear communication about this code in the box stuff.
Yep.
Is it a code in the box like you have on PC? Is it like a transferable code that someone else can use? I think it is, but it felt like it was really unclear. It was announced in a way that opened the discussion rather than just being very clear. So I think there's probably some communication issue in there,
And,
because ultimately when you read that, it feels fine. Okay, it's just not a physical cartridge. It's just a.
Can you be kind and explain what that is, by the way? Because I think some people don't know what that is.
I need you. Can you open
Oh, okay.
the
I'll
link?
open.
Yeah,
Yep,
it's
absolutely.
better. So a typical box has a physical cartridge, and the cartridge you can put it in your Switch, remove it, and the game would be on the cartridge. Would be physically on the cartridge on the uh, disk space of the cartridge.
Hmm.
And now they are introducing this kind of empty cartridge that, but you also need to insert them, but there is no game on the cartridge. It's kind of a downloading, like a downloading key somehow.
Yep.
Like you have security keys like that when you have a corporate computer, you need to log in, you put a key in the USB, and it feels a bit like the same.
Yep.
So you can only play the game if you have the physical empty cartridge in the console. But the good news is that you can take that card, empty card, put it in another Switch, and play the game on the other Switch. So that's the good news. And I think initially people they mistaken this idea of code in a box with what we have on other platform, which is basically you buy an empty box at retail, which only has a digital code, a digital download code that you can only use once and attach to only one account. So I think that's probably where the misunderstanding came in the first place. And yeah, that's the thing. And I think basically it's just it's the equivalent of a full physical cartridge. It's just that you have to download the content. There is no content potentially because some games they don't fit. They wouldn't fit in the future in the size of the cartridge. And what I wonder is, as a publisher, what are your costs? How much do you pay to Nintendo between a cartridge with the game and a cartridge without the game and just the key? I wonder if there is also a difference there. That maybe this might have been a solution offered by Nintendo to the publishers. You can choose. You go full um, physical, or you just go this hybrid version and maybe you pay a little less. But I don't know. It's just assumptions I have. I really don't know. It's not like I've heard things. I've heard nothing. I'm just thinking how they would approach the relationship between Nintendo and the third party publishers.
Well, you wonder how much of a cost you're really saving. You know,
Yeah.
like so much of it is producing the little physical object, shipping it around, and all that kind of thing. Like putting the code on it. Like obviously it's not free, but I don't think it's. I don't know what a major cost of the process it is.
I know what you're not saving, Dave, which is the relationship you have with your customers. I think just to add a bit, because I agree with you, Manu, on some accounts there. I think from a publishing point of view and your relationship with a publisher or a game maker, it makes sense. But from a consumer point of view, you're just muddying the waters and making it confusing, and especially for Nintendo, that historically speaking has been very clear and simple in relationship to what they offer and how things work on their platform. This one, I feel like, is in the we're in the middle somewhere, and maybe in the future. Obviously, we already know this. Like maybe the PlayStation and the next Xbox iteration, if they do exist,
Hmm.
they will not have a physical media at all because
Hmm.
what is it? Is it 95%, 90% of purchases are already digital at this point? Um,
Yeah.
but for Nintendo, the physical aspect has historically played an important role. And now in this one, we're like almost in a transitional phase. But I think the mistake that I'm seeing is this muddying of the waters and the communication around it and what it means. And for me, it's like, okay, if I have this option, and I think I do understand it from the perspective of, okay, well, it's a cool thing that I can at least sell my game or give it away or let somebody else borrow it, and they can still download and play as long as they have the physical medium to insert into the console. But it's just, it feels like either you just should have gone with that and completely moved away from having the physical become the all encompassing data. Uh, Maybe it's a transitional period. Does that make sense? I don't
I
know.
think an important thing to remember is like, yeah, we're talking about this now, and we're the kind of people that know about this thing. A lot of the people that are going to buy the Switch in the first couple of weeks are going to know about the kind of thing. But a vast majority of the Switch user base is not going to be aware of this distinction. And in that case, the experience of doing this is not going to look very different from buying a cartridge with code on it, right? It's very rare that you buy a cartridge and you put it in and like that's it, and you're just going to run that thing without doing any additional downloads. So it's the same thing that's going to happen. You're going to buy a thing, you're going to put it in your Switch, it's going to download something you're going to play. And so unless you're really going into the weeds on it, you're probably not going to notice this difference at all.
Well, I think if you're used to play on Nintendo Switch, you maybe not be used to wait until 60 gigabyte of data is being downloaded.
Yeah, it's a bigger download. That's
Start
true.
the game.
Yeah,
I think there's still this element. I always remember these stories when people get a PlayStation at Christmas and they cannot play the evening because they have to download the update and then the game and stuff like that. So I think it's more friction, obviously, and that was one of the reasons why Nintendo was still with physical games. But this is the history is going that way. It's just.
Manu, do you know if obviously Nintendo's a Japanese company? Do we know in Japan what the purchase behaviors are? Are Japanese more prone? Japanese players, are they more prone to buying physical? Is it 50-50? Do we know anything about that?
I don't recall having seen a massive difference with other Western world countries, I would say.
Okay.
But the fact that they would buy more Nintendo games means that the overall market share of physical games is higher because they have more Nintendo stuff. But no, other than that, not specifically. And I still think they will keep that because they understand they have such a different price policy for their games compared to other publisher, other first parties, and the power of the second-hand market is much stronger on Nintendo Switch. So they still need to keep this channel open, I believe.
I mean, there's another thing that I like as well, and you already know this, which is keeping your MSRP the same over the lifetime almost of the entire console for the game, which I think is a smart strategy to do instead of going to the racing to the bottom, so to say. But,
well, I mean, it's easy when you have your exclusive and you have no competition on your own platform. It's very easy to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
And you have no competition sort of like culturally, right? No one else is making Mario games.
Well, am I going to play Assassin's Creed because I want to play Mario, but it's too expensive? No, I just want to play Mario. that's so I think let's be cautious when we praise what they do because we can praise the way they went to be in the position they are right now, but now they're just getting the consequence of their previous choices, and it worked well for them. But now it just feels like too easy somehow.
Absolutely. But I think to your point there, so there are two things. Just quickly, I showed a picture of the boxes with the game card marking. I feel like that one is gonna fly past a lot of parents. It could have been flying past me as well. It's not as apparent that this game is not actually a game. It's just a key card. So that's one thing. The other thing, just to go back, I feel like with this new console, exclusives, I feel like it's sedimented the fact that exclusives do matter. Do you feel like that is the case?
Well, it can't really cement that fact until it launches.
But I feel like if it didn't have, I mean, would we even be here talking about this if there was no Mario Kart World or no Donkey Kong?
I mean, I think it would be really different even if there was no Mario Kart. Donkey Kong's
It would be a
cool, but
different
it doesn't have the same pull. And that's the thing. That's the thing that we're getting. We're buying Mario Kart World and we're buying the promise of Zelda or Mario later on. But it totally remains to be seen how much that matters. Exclusives. It's no secret that exclusives do not have the same pull as they used to, and it's just one game, and there's a lot of games out there.
Absolutely.
I'll bring up one final topic then on the Switch too. So the Trump tariffs. So they do I understand correctly? They delayed.
Yeah. He said psych on that.
Okay.
So global capitalism is saved for another 90 days.
except
So
from China.
except from China. But as
In-
far as I gather, Nintendo moves to production to Vietnam. So
Yeah, no,
like,
no, I'm just kidding. I think the moment you post a news or you post even an opinion, it's already not,
outdated.
yeah,
yeah,
outdated.
it's
So
just yeah,
it's
Wait a second.
the best comment is no comment at this point, but I think it's, yeah, it would have asked a lot of questions, and people have been wondering if the price announced was taking into account any potential tariffs happening. But the president of Duke Bowser said clearly that it was not related to tariff, that's just the price. So let's see now what will happen if tariffs. And I think the whole tariff situation, the challenge is that companies, they don't know what to do, right? Should I import
yeah.
goods again in the US? Should I wait because it maybe change his mind again next day? So I think it's a terrible period for any company to launch such a critical hardware for their future, right? I mean,
And that's for companies. There's also consumers who are
yeah,
like, do I need to save up for groceries or what?
yeah,
Or am I going to have a job if I work at a tariff affected business, which
yeah,
is all
absolutely,
businesses basically.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm still confused. Isn't the Switch and maybe 90% of all consoles, or 95% maybe of all consoles, made in China?
Well, people have moved production to Vietnam, so as a way to get around a lot of this. I don't know the breakdown, but I know that like people, because there was tariffs in the last administration too, and they went through Biden as well. So Vietnam has been used as a backdoor, and I'm pretty sure Nintendo has them there, but I'm not positive. And so one of the major problems with this recent insanity was that he closed all the back doors so that Vietnam also saw big tariffs, and everyone else did too.
Okay.
That's one of the problems. There's a lot of them.
Okay, shall we move on to some other topics then?
Sure.
Mhm.
We said it's a short week, but we'll see. Um, so I'll move over to the newsletter then. On the highlights, the number one item on the list: Blueprints is currently the best reviewed game of 2025, and I have no idea what that is. Tell us,
Ooh, it's kind of
what
a
is
puzzly
Blueprints?
situation. I want to play that. It looks cool.
It's launching today.
Okay.
It's puzzle game roguelite, roguelite. I don't know more than that, but many people around me have mentioned that game. And what's quite funny is that it's included in the Game Pass and it's included in the PlayStation Plus subscription. So there is a good chance that if you're on console, you will just get that game, but you have to pay it on Steam. But I don't even know what's the price. I don't know if you are showing something, Casey, but it's just loading emptiness.
I am showing some a review of the game.
Uh, oh yeah, I just
Let's see.
I
Let's see what the Steam price is.
yeah.
There's
Blueprints.
Very good.
There is no price attached to it yet. Release
No,
date, planned release date, April 10th in
in
10
six
hours, but there is
hours.
no, but there, yeah, 6 hours, but there's no price on it.
oh,
No,
wow.
not yet.
Wait a
Mhm.
second. It's releasing in 6 hours, and there's no price attached to it.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's amazing.
TBD.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing on screen, I'm not
No
sure
pre-order.
if you guys are seeing, but I'm seeing at least. It's like it's almost like it's a house or a mansion you're in.
Yeah.
I'm getting some feelings from like Persona. You're going
Mhm.
around, you're clicking on things, you're learning about different. I'm assuming you're solving a mystery of some kind in this space.
Yeah, I believe so. I just wanted to put it first because it could be significant for the industry if it's really successful.
Yep.
And you remember Schedule One that I put 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
It is now number three on Steam. It has reached like 450,000 concurrent players. So I think it's nice when we talk about games to follow, to keep a
Love
look,
it.
keep
Love the
an eye on.
visuals. Looks great.
Yeah, everything looks
Yeah.
fantastic about this
Yeah.
game. When you think about games like The Witness, the Talos Principle, all of these
Yep.
3D puzzle games, even
Yep.
even Portal is a puzzle game somehow. So I just wonder, and the twist seems to be that it's very replayable and there is like more happening, a bit like when you play Returnal on PlayStation or on PC. You have a run and then you have a second run. So yeah, there is things there that could make it a very good game, and apparently it's a really good game. And I think that's when breakthrough happens, when you completely innovate or you combine two genres into something that becomes innovative because it's a combination that has not been done before.
And
Yeah.
Manu, hearing you speak about this and looking at the footage, for me,
Mhm.
I like immediately, okay, in a year or two, you're gonna see a lot of
Mm.
copycats or similar types of games trying to do the same thing.
Well,
And
I think roguelikes.
people will just hope they can reproduce the success, and they won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe someone will. Who knows?
Yeah.
But not a lot. Yeah, I think that when you talk about innovation, roguelikes are just a great place to do it because they just
Mm.
ask such different things from players and from developers. They're just kind of they're funky, but at the same time they are very mechanically cooperative with other genres, and so you can do a lot of stuff, and you can do some storytelling and some mechanical stuff that you can't do elsewhere. I remember one time there's a Twitter poll about what would you change if you could change one thing about the video game industry, like historically. A lot of people said get rid of microtransactions, but some of the best were get rid of save games. And obviously roguelites have progression, but it's different, and it's just it's such a different way of thinking about how you interact with the game. I think one of my favorite was examples of that was what was the arcane one? Time loop. What was it called?
That was the PlayStation exclusive, right?
No, was it? Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Deathloop.
the
Deathloop.
funky 70s.
Deathloop,
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. And I thought, that was basically a roguelike, right? And
Uh-huh.
for me, the problem with Arcane, which I love Arcane games, I love immersive sims, and one of my biggest problems is that I always reload when I get caught because I like to play stealth.
yeah.
And they just totally knocked that problem right out by using the roguelike structure.
And speaking of Roblox, I think yeah, that's exactly where you want to try stuff, or where you want to get your ideas, okay, and maybe fund some people. So it's not only about maybe trying to buy some Roblox experience. It's more about to buy some intellectual property designed on Roblox and then make it a premium game. And
Um,
I shared the link of
yeah.
my kids, what they are playing, what they like, they enjoy so much right now. And I think probably we can search for a video. And it's on Roblox, and it's a new experience, and it seems to be super cool for them. And it's always cool to see these new formulas coming. And they often start with Roblox on with Fortnite. Roblox is really the place for that. Yeah.
I completely agree. The Roblox, Fortnite, Minecraft, I'll even add Counter Strike
Mhm.
ecosystems
Yeah.
have
But
so many cool um, uh, experiences that are
mhm.
only available there. And I was speaking to an investor yesterday. They're like, "Hey, Casey, can you help us figure out what's popular on Roblox, and can you give us some data?" And I'm like, "Yes, I will. That's not a problem. But why invest there? Why not just invest in teams that are making games that are pulling these experiences from
Mhm.
Roblox
Yeah.
into standalone versions?" I'm gonna show your game that you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
But I completely agree with you. By the way, I just want to highlight one thing with the Blueprint game, which is it's published by Raw Fury, and Raw Fury
Good for
seems to
them.
have
They needed a win.
well, yes, they have another one I'm going to show you, which is based on another game that made a new genre completely, or not completely, but you know what I mean. But okay, so let's just talk about this one quickly. This one is the what was it called again, Manu? The train
Dead
game,
Rails.
Dead Rails.
So
Um,
you're in a train in the far west. You have cowboys, and you have to go basically from point A to point B, and you try to go as far as possible and as close as possible to point B. You usually don't reach the final destination. You have zombies attacking you, so you can stop your train. You can buy more stuff. You can buy weapon. You can buy equipment, and you get attacked by zombies. So there is a linear progression system, and co-op. Obviously, you don't really play that alone, and it's just yeah. Just another, it just pop up out of nowhere. I don't know if it
Mhm.
comes initially
Yeah.
from friends or from. Then you see, yeah, you can just buy stupid equipment. It's not only useful equipment. It's just can be decoration, and
Mhm.
you just play hooked.
Manu, if you remind us from
Mm.
your report
Mm.
on Tuesday,
Yeah.
one of the trends that
Mm.
were happening on Steam and maybe other platforms as well is social gaming, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the fun with friends.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
this falls right, like hand in glove with what you're
Mm,
talking about.
absolutely. And also some shifting from like the pure PvP shooters
Yeah.
to the more co-op, the more
Mhm.
PvE shooters also. Yeah, absolutely.
Here's
Yeah.
what I wanted to show you as well, which is a game called Historic Ebb. I actually found this
Mm.
game 2 years ago.
Esoteric.
Esoteric. Thank you. Um,
Native English speaker here to help.
Thank you, Dave. This is a one-man army doing this entire game on their own.
Mm.
They're of course getting help from some people as consultants. But I discovered this game 2 years ago at a local conference. I was like immediately as soon as I saw it, and they're trying to do similar things to Disco Elysium,
Mm.
but they're adding another twist to it in the form of more of jokes and funny characters and that type of stuff. And but this one was also picked up by Raw Fury, like
Hmm.
on point on many levels. So that one is another game to keep an eye out for.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll move down the list then. Um, Highlights. Yes, so this one is interesting. Box office.
Yeah.
A Minecraft movie opening beats Barbie with 163 million. Now, that is news to me. But what I picked up on was something completely different, which is I'm not sure if we even want to comment about that. I don't know what's happening, but apparently people going to the cinema are just like going bonkers. I don't know why. Is there anything you want to shed light on?
I don't know how
Uh,
I can reply to that without sounding like a boomer, you know?
Yeah,
It's a meme stuff, okay? It's people have a very emotional connection to the game, to the memes, to the characters, to everything. So, and any subtle or not subtle reference of the game within the movie is actually creating huge reaction from the public because the target audience is like young teens, like kids, young teens. And when I went with my kids, they were also people uploading at the beginning or at the end or something you never hear and anyway, anywhere. So or only if the movie is really good, but that's not why they were uploading because that's not a good movie. It's just a fan service movie that's doing things very well. But it's one of the first time I really felt like I'm not into that universe. I don't enjoy watching it, and I struggle a bit to understand the appeal, but it just means that is I'm not the target audience, and it's totally fine. But ultimately, it's good because it's another successful movie based on a video game, and that's a bit all that matters at this point.
mhm.
is it a good movie?
No, no,
No,
no, it's from a purely cinematic standpoint, it's not a good movie, but it's a good fan service movie. But
got
I would say a movie like Sonic 3 is probably from a movie standpoint a better movie. But this one is good fan service. And I think my kids were also clear that it's a good Minecraft movie, but it's not a great movie. It's not a great kids movie neither.
got it.
You know,
Got it.
Sonic 3 is an interesting comparison because, like, it's a kid's movie. The movie and the fan service are aimed at very different people. Because
Mm-hmm.
so much of the fan service is going back to, like, games from the 2000s and even the 90s. So
Mm-hmm.
that is completely irrelevant to, like, my 3-year-old and 7-year-old who both really like the movie. And this is, it's more together. They're like the fan service is aimed at the same
Yeah.
people the movie is aimed at.
It, I think it's a movie where if you are not fan of the franchise or not playing the game, you can't really enjoy that much. I think there are movies where you don't like Pixar movies. Adults can enjoy Pixar movies much more than probably this one.
Got
I
it.
think any parent that's going to see that movie with zero knowledge of Minecraft is going to be really feel
Well,
really weird, you know.
that's a good thing, in my opinion. Like, I
Uh-huh.
think what's important is that these fans get what they want from.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I personally I haven't seen Sonic 3, but I enjoyed Sonic 1 and 2
Hmm.
immensely. I thought they were like hitting
Hmm.
all the check marks that I
Hmm.
would expect. and probably some of the best video game to movie adaptations ever. I mean, can we think of any other ones that are good, historically speaking?
I mean, there's Mario.
Mario?
Pikachu was
Yeah,
not bad.
Detective Pikachu was great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so with Minecraft, I couldn't feel any emotional connection with the story or with the
It looks
characters.
stupid
Yeah,
when you look at it. Yeah.
yeah. But I'm not. People have different
Okay.
sensibilities. Yeah.
So the next item, the number one item on the news. This one is interesting because somebody's trying to make money. Okay. Schedule one of the most successful games in recent
Mm-hmm.
memory. The community of that game is outraged after a rival drug dealer simulator
Mm-hmm.
defends investigation into copyright infringement.
Mm-hmm.
Will this go anywhere, or is this just a waste of time?
So the thing is, the argument of the other game studio is that we are in a, I think, owned by a publicly listed company. So we have to do that due diligence. If a game
Right.
looks so much like ours and we have the right to this game and gameplay, we have to do this due diligence. But there's not been a lawsuit yet. They just investigate. They just ask a lawyer to investigate the similarities.
Yeah,
Um,
that's pretty. I think you should be allowed to do that. Why
yeah.
not? It's your money. It's like a lawsuit's a different matter. They would
Mhm.
debate, but like whatever.
Okay, so I think I misunderstood. So there is no lawsuit yet. They're just investigating their ability to file one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
exactly.
how did
But
this?
it was enough
How did that?
for some outrage. Let's put it that way.
Okay, but how did that even make news? Because I would assume that type of conversation with a lawyer is just private with the company and the law firm, right?
Everything makes news these days.
Yeah.
But it's under the spotlight, I think the market, the audience is still a bit shocked with the story between Nintendo and Polworld. So I think there's still the aftermath of that, and it wouldn't be the first time that there is copyright infringement or just a studio reskin an existing gameplay formula with
Okay.
a new name or rebrand. Yeah.
Okay, I'll move over to some more fun news, and I don't know if you're teasing us or jerking our chain here. Exclusive new Deus Ex game pitched by Eidos Montreal. Why is this making the news, man? Like, why are you doing this to us?
I don't know.
Who is
Just
this insider gaming?
it probably should have been in rumors.
That's a room.
That
Okay.
yeah, that's a rumor.
I just put that in
That'd be
rumors.
cool. I mean, I love Human Revolution was so good, man. What a great game.
The one
Yeah,
after
but at the same time, it feels like there is a ceiling to
yeah,
this kind of games. Like there's only that much audience, and I'm not even sure that the younger audience is excited by that type of game. So
yeah.
unless you go to the cyberpunk level, where you also have this heavily world building and RPG elements, I don't know how much money you can make on that formula these days. How many
Yeah,
units you can
you would
sell.
need to really scope it so that it made sense with that ceiling.
Yeah, yeah. You need to adjust your dev cost to the
Yeah.
revenue you can make.
Okay, I'll move over to the next item then. And this one, we should have probably talked about it in the last segment. But another Nintendo console exclusive is Hades 2.
Hmm.
Is this a timed console exclusive? What's happening with this thing?
It's a launch console exclusive. So
Yeah.
I guess when I say launch, it means at launch it will be only on Nintendo, but also on PC. I think that just to be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, money.
Man,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Somebody's
mean, I do feel like, obviously Hades wasn't a console exclusive on Switch, but it became so deeply connected to Switch that I
Mhm.
think that, like I guess if they looked at their numbers and they're like,
Mhm.
if Nintendo will give us some money to be an exclusive, we're not losing that much.
And even if we release 1 year after on the other platform, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my guess is that Nintendo and Steam accounted for a really, really large
Oh, yeah.
amount. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you remember what the strategy was, the release strategy for Hades? I think if I remember correctly, they launched on the Epic platform
Mm.
for like a year or two or something like that, and then they moved over. Is that correct? Something like that along those lines?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I
Yeah.
believe, but maybe it's just part of their business model to get the funding to finish the game on with some exclusive. I
Yeah,
think.
which is funny. I think that's probably less necessary after Hades. I think
Yeah,
they got
hopefully.
the funding now.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay. Moving over to the trends, Ubisoft in the news again, our favorite publisher. In this case, we're talking about The Crew. They're shutting it down, it seems like. And I'm not sure who is saying these words, but apparently you weren't deceived by the lack of offline version to access a decade-old discontinued video game. So I assume the it's an online-only game. There aren't many people playing it, and it's time to say goodbye. Is that what's happening? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been the crew one shutdown has been announced, and I think has happened a long time ago already. But there was some kind of lawsuit, and right now, just Ubisoft didn't ban, and just they really say you never own the game, and so I just restating the obvious, but really not opening the door in of any discussion.
got it, got it. We'll move over to more fun things. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2's explosive launch, a new RPG powerhouse. So what's going on here? Like, are we saying because Bethesda doesn't seem to be able to
No,
deliver maybe
and
as
yeah,
much?
and I don't think that Bethesda is going to be able to like conceptually compete with some of the stuff in this game. Here's what I will say about this game: is that making horseshoes with the mouse and keyboard is really fucking annoying, and you have to make horseshoes after the wedding, and that is when I stopped playing. But it's yeah, I think it's going to hopefully set a new standard for how to think about first person RPGs, which is interesting to me because the whole pitch around this was that it's a realistic RPG, and that is, yeah, that's kind of what they're doing. Really, it's just like a much more mechanically involved RPG, and that doesn't have to be applied to realism, nor does it have to be applied to some of the prickliness that they have in this game. They do have it, and it's cool. It's their game. But I'm really excited to see what other people make of some of these ideas of slowing it down a little, of making things matter, of making the world feel a little more tactile and a little more real.
Yeah, and it just obviously it's a new gen spotlight that we produce at New Zoo, and I also wanted to put the spotlight in the spotlight. Yes.
Well, thank you, Umano, for doing that. The next item is probably also potentially a rumor. I'm not sure. You'll have to tell us.
Oh
But
yeah.
reportedly, there is a Michael Sarnowski. I don't know how to say that name. Dave, you'll have to help me out. But that
I'm
person,
English is what I got. That
okay,
sounds
Mm-hmm.
something else.
I don't know. Attached to direct Death Stranding movie. Now we never got a Metal Gear Solid movie, but we might get a Death Stranding movie.
I think Death Stranding is a better candidate for a movie just because there's a little more room to move on adaptation. Like Metal Gear Solid is a super tough thing to adapt. Like
Yeah.
it's already so close to a movie, but it's not a movie. So like
Yeah.
it's an uncanny valley. That's really tough. Also, Solid Snake himself is a really tough guy to cast. Norman Reedus is not a tough guy to cast because he's a guy.
You just recast that guy.
Yeah,
Why you just
he already exists.
You already have all the actors. You just put them.
Yeah.
On a
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you would do Solid Snake, you would just put Pedro Pascal because Pedro Pascal is doing
Oh,
any
no.
Yeah, whatever. No one's going to complain about Pedro Pascal being in your movie.
I'm gonna say no to that. But yes, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Let's get David Hayter. He would love to play that. Okay. Then I'll go back to the rumors. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and 3 rated in Australia. Is this like a remake thing? What's going
Yeah.
on?
remaster, maybe single player campaign. So it could be just leveraging the portfolio.
So, but this is similar to what they did with Modern Warfare
Yeah.
1, I believe.
Yeah.
5 years ago. Okay.
And my guess is they developed some like workflows and tools that made these remasters a whole lot cheaper than the Modern Warfare 1 remaster.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we move over to, we already talked about new Deus Ex, and then, okay. So, the numbers then. The last item on the list. Star Citizen has now raised over $800 million with still no release in sight.
I love how we've been using that screenshot for Star Citizen for like like 7 years now.
I'm not sure. I'm starting to be worried that Mark Hamill might not be there when they release the game anymore.
Yeah.
Not there as in like dead or
Yeah.
No, as in ascended.
ascended to another dimension.
Fully digitalized.
Yeah.
Are you guys following Star Citizen at all in any shape or form?
No, but I mean, I know a few people heavily engaged in the game, so it's absolutely playable. Okay, let's just be clear. It's not like vaporware and there is nothing. It's in constant development.
Yep.
Uh, it's already people are just playing all day long, all week long that game. There is already a massive fan base, guilds and stuff like that. So it's not from the outside it feels like nothing has been released, but the reality is that they have builds and everything is available. It's just the ambition is so big that it will probably never be really completely released. And then they've pushed back the Squadron 42, which was supposed to be the single player part of the game. So a lot of announcements and we're not there yet, but there it's absolutely playable. There's a whole economy. You can buy ships and stuff for thousands of dollars, and I mean it's part of the funding,
Yeah.
obviously. But yeah,
But you could argue this is a forever game. Oh well, I'll not
yeah,
argue it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
It,
fact.
it already is. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a
I mean,
real life service game, Manu.
The biggest risk is
Definitely.
actually that it would release because
Yeah.
then it will be judged. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
That's a bit weird. That's
Yeah,
really weird. I mean, it's
I'm,
already out there in the wild, so
yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, every once in a while, I'm like, oh, this is stupid. Like, what's going on? Why would you?
Yeah.
And then like I say that for like 20 seconds, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Is Cloud Imperium my new family, my new home? Should I join it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like, my hot take is that like it's fine. I think a lot of people like to make fun of it, but like generally speaking, people that spend money on this game know what they're spending money on, and they're getting it. And like, there's not a lot of deception really. I think it's like more morally fine than a lot of MTX
Mhm.
practices, and so like whatever. Like everyone's on board for growing this thing together. It looks like they're probably gonna hit $1 billion at some point. Go to whatever.
Mhm.
I mean, I was laughing at some old colleagues at EA who were playing this game 6 years ago, roughly ish. Now, obviously, fast forward. I mean, it does. And when we looked at the footage, it looks like it's a pretty comprehensive game. It has a lot of mechanics and actual gameplay. But here's a question, by the way. So when this says has now raised over $800 million, what does that mean, really? Is that like VC funding, or where's that money coming from?
Ships and shit like that.
So
Ships
it's not raised; it's like they made it.
and crowdfunding and that kind of thing. Yeah, no. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe they have some VC money, but people are giving them money.
But wait, sorry. Just to be very clear, because I think
Manu's raving.
Manu, thank you for joining us.
I'm sorry, I have to leave. Thank you.
I think-
Have a
Oh,
good day.
okay. I thought you were waving with some like really important
No, not
information
for
about
this one.
Star
No.
Citizen's budgeting.
I'm just saying goodbye. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye, Manu. Have a good day.
Thank you, Dave. So I just have, because I feel like I'm a bit tired now to understand or absorb the entire information about the funding for this game. So originally, 12 years ago, there was a original Kickstarter,
hmm
and then there was a Cloud Imperium funding tracker. What is that one?
I mean, they have crowdfunded across several different platforms, I believe, and so the funding tracker, if I had to guess, would be just kind of putting all that stuff together. And then also they sell ships in the game, and some of the ships are incredibly expensive.
Is this? I'm not sure if this is an official website. I just found this thing. There's a crowdfunding timeline. So maybe this is their own thing, right? Is this their own thing?
No, I don't think so. Oh, Robert Space Industries.
What
Is that them? Is that them? I mean, there's Space Imperium, but Robert Space Industries is a thing that I can't remember what it is.
Don't tell me this is the name of the company, though. Maybe it's the name of the company.
No, that's Cloud Imperium.
Okay, never mind.
But maybe it's Connect. I don't know. Let's just Google it.
Please do. Because
Okay, yeah, it is. It is the company in some capacity. But then I don't really know what the difference between that and Cloud Imperium is.
Got it. Okay, but basically what I'm hearing is they are funding the operation of the company through their own community and not necessarily, and maybe they're giving them something in return.
Yeah, they're gonna. I mean, like it's not like as you so like to say. This is just a live service game. It's just an unreleased live service game. Like
Yeah.
you could
Well,
say that
release.
Fortnite has raised however much money by selling shit in the game, and Star Citizen has done that.
But here's where I guess this goes a bit back to these quote unquote media outlets that don't really behave like media outlets because
Well, we're
it's
all
their
just trying
job.
to eat here, Casey.
It's their job to tell us what's what. And obviously, in this specific case, if they constantly post about this game raising X amount of money instead of saying, "Oh yeah, this game released 12 years ago, and here is the current state of it," which is not a bad state; it's a good state.
Yeah.
But just tell us that. You know what
Well,
I
I mean, it is obviously there's been a lot of weird definitional thing, and obviously, like the whole gaming industry does not do a good job with cutting super distinct lines between unreleased and released, or microtransaction and not microtransaction. All this stuff is super fuzzy. So I do think that it is definitionally confusing, especially because at the beginning, raising funds was definitely the way to refer to this. It was a crowdfunded project and people are getting behind it. And then like gradually it has transitioned over to something that looks more just like a game in development funded by microtransactions. But again, these are fuzzy lines. And I don't think that you can like send out like go to the now defunct video game journalist chat and be like, all right, we're calling it this now.
I guess it takes me to my final question for today, which is the early access. It used to mean something. Now it means something different. It essentially means, hey, yeah, our game is done.
Maybe it could mean any number. It can mean any number of different things. It doesn't always mean that, but it can mean that.
I feel like it means that, but what other meanings can it have?
I mean, people do still do more traditional early access structures. Like Valheim was basically like that. Valheim was not done, and it's going to be really different when it launches into 1.0 than it launched early. And lots of games do. There's Manor Lords. That feels like a more traditional early access. It can just, for me, it can mean all kinds of different things. And so long as you are clear to people about what it means and what the process is going to be like, no one really cares.
Do you feel like this term will continue to exist in the coming, let's say, 5 years?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't see why not. It's a very useful term. It's a communications term more than anything. It just lets people know something about the game. It lets them know that the thing they have is not the final release.
Okay, fair enough. Dave, thank you so much for explaining the status of early accesses.
That's what I'm here for. Status of early access and the pronunciation of esoteric.
Yes, esoteric ebb. Check it out. It's really beautiful. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Please do click stuff on the screen. I don't know.
Click it all. Click whatever you want, man. I don't know. You can tap too if it's a laptop. It's more of a tapping.
Tapping, clicking, all that stuff. The bells, the whistles, the thumbs, anything you see that is clickable or tappable. Please
go to town.
We would really appreciate that. Of course, under 30 seconds every Friday at 9 a.m., regardless of where you are. Okay. The games industry executive summary. Go to guysweekly.substack.com. And then, of course, you'll find us on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Music, or not Apple Music, Apple Podcasts. Just search for Guys Weekly or the Games Industry Executive Summary, and you'll find us. Dave, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure.
A pleasure, as always.
Next one we might have, by the way, Dave, we might have some guests. I'm not sure how that's going to play out.
Oh, my. Yeah.
Yes.
That sounds good. Excited for it.
Okay. Then, with that being said, have a nice day, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye. Have a nice day.